I grew up in a small town on the southern edge of Missouri. It wasn't a very large town by any means, but it had everything one would need to survive. A post office, a drugstore, a handful of shops, a grocery store, and even a small movie theater. A lot of people would probably hate to live in a small town, but I didn't mind it. I had a few friends, and I knew almost everyone who lived there by name. My father worked in the post office, and my mother worked from home. She was a technical consultant for some corporation out of state. If I had to describe my town with one word, that word would be simple. Nothing of any significance ever happened in my town. The most notable things that I can remember is one year my neighbor had his trash can stolen by what we all assumed was a bear, though it has yet to be recovered. Another year, a lady who lives just up the road from us won the lottery, a whopping $1,200. She was really the talk of the town for a few weeks. But 4 years ago, something strange happened to my town, and everyone I've spoken to since couldn't seem to remember it. Once I turned 21 years old, my parents did something incredibly unexpected. They gave me their house. The house itself was just your average run-of-the-mill home, nothing fancy. My parents had paid off the majority over the years, and once I finished college and had a steady job, they asked me if I'd be willing to take over the payments. My parents had been talking about retiring to Florida for years, and once I was finally able to live within my means, they made the offer. I was ecstatic, to say the least. While the thought of spending more of my life in this town disappointed me somewhat, the thought of being a homeowner at such a young age was exciting. My dad told me that if I wanted to sell the house that I could, though the thought hadn't even crossed my mind. During that year, I helped my family pack up most of their belongings, and they headed to their new home in the retirement capital of the U.S. The first few weeks were amazing. I loved the freedom of doing whatever I wanted in my new home. After the first month, however, the sudden realization of bills hit me like a ton of bricks. Even though most of it had been paid off, the utilities as well as any additional expenditures quickly piled on. Adjusting to living on my own definitely needed some getting used to. I had to pick up extra hours at my job just to get by. One night, after getting home late from work, I lazily stumbled through my front door and fell face first onto my couch. I turned on the television so I could have a little bit of background noise while I drifted off. Only, what I heard on the TV captured my attention. A local news announcer said that a strange storm was heading in the direction of our town. He didn't say what type of storm it was, only that we should all remain indoors and that we shouldn't attempt to go outside regardless of what we see. I thought that was an odd way to describe a storm, but I thought nothing of it and drifted off to sleep. When I awoke, there was darkness. The alarm I had set my phone to go off at 8 a.m. rang violently in my pocket. I sat up and noticed that my windows looked like they had a black sheet hung on the outside of it. Inside my house was almost as dark, but I could still make out the vague shapes of my furniture. I walked over to my window and stared out of it, unable to make anything out aside from the dirty glass that I was looking through. I tried to call my boss to see if he was experiencing the same thing, since I had to be at work in an hour. When I called him, I was greeted with an endless busy signal. I grabbed my jacket and made my way to the door. I'm not sure why, but when I grabbed the handle, something in the pit of my stomach told me not to open it. So I didn't. I sat back down on my couch and tried the TV, hoping that there was some more information on this strange phenomenon. I wasn't so lucky. My TV only produced static, which seemed to struggle as it tried to light up the living room. I waited for a few hours, and the darkness only persisted. It was around the 6th hour mark that I began to hear things coming from outside. Muffled screams in the distance, people crying out for help before quickly going silent. I wasn't sure what I should do. Then, I heard someone right on the other side of my window shouting for someone to come help them. I made my way over to the glass hoping to see something, but it was useless. While I was pressing my face against the glass in my attempts to see anything, something slammed against the window, causing me to fall backwards. I'm not sure what hit the window as I still couldn't see anything on the other side. I scrambled to my bedroom and locked the door behind me. I tried dialing the police, but was once again met with a busy tone. A few more hours passed, and I tried to keep my sanity by reading a book, with the use of one of my desk lamps pressed closely to the pages. I was just trying my best to wait it out, hoping it was just like any other storm and would soon pass. Then, I heard a knock on my door. My back door. I got up from my desk with a baseball bat in hand, and slowly crept over to my door. The closer I got, the louder the knocks became until I was face to face with the door itself. The knocking stopped. I called out, asking if anyone was there. No one responded. I then called out that I had a gun and was willing to use it, even though that was a lie. Still, no response. After waiting for a few moments, I decided that I had gone insane and was now hearing strange noises. As soon as I turned my back to the door, the knocking turned to pounding. This sent me into a sprint back to my bedroom, slamming and locking the door once again behind me. I huddled myself in the corner of my room with my bat in hand, and though I tried to stay awake and on guard, my tiredness got the better of me. I awoke on the floor of my bedroom with the bat still clutched in one hand. Only this time, light was now shining through my window. That's what had woken me up in the first place. I rapidly sat up, and the first thing I did was check my phone. A new day had arrived and I had somehow slept for 12 hours. I checked all the local news sites, but what I saw confused me. There were no mentions of anything out of the ordinary for the previous day. I scrolled and scrolled, but nothing had been posted. I called my boss to ask him about yesterday, and he was upset that I just skipped an entire day of work without letting anyone know. I walked outside my house and looked around. My entire neighborhood looked just as normal and boring as it always had. I was starting to think that I must have just imagined all of it. That was until I walked around to the back of my house. My entire back door was completely scratched up. Long gashes ran along the wood, almost as if a wild animal had been scraping away at it. The fact that it was still standing was beyond me. Over the next few days, I started to notice other small things wrong with the town, which ultimately led to me selling the house and moving out of state. A few of my neighbors' houses had recently become vacant. I remember each and every person who lived in those houses. But whenever I asked someone about it, I'm always told they had always been empty. I tried searching for the missing people in phone books and online, but their names never pop up anywhere in the whole state. After that, I sold the house and moved to a more populated town in Illinois. Over the years, I have just tried to forget about the strange incident that occurred 4 years ago. I'm not sure where that darkness came from, or what was lurking within it. I have no idea where my neighbors disappeared to, nor why nobody seems to remember it happening. The only reason I'm bringing it up once again is that I just turned on the TV, and an announcer is saying a strange storm is moving into our area soon, and that we should all stay indoors. So if any of you out there happen to see the same broadcast, get out of town before you end up like one of the people that everyone else forgot